anyone interested in history?
The Fourth Doctor, 1974 to 1981. The Fourth Doctor masked his brilliant and inventive mind behind a facade of bohemian eccentricity. The longest-lived incarnation of the Doctor so far, he was forced to change his body after losing a fight with his old enemy, the Master, and falling from a radio telescope to the ground beneath him. Now, this variant of Tom is a very welcome variant. It's very different to the other releases we've had thus far. It's, oh, excuse me a minute. Just move him out of the way, otherwise you might think I'm talking about the wrong figure. This variant is from the Seeds of Doom, the last story of Tom's second season, and it is basically a retooling and a slight repaint of previous Tom Baker figures. The articulation is basically the same, the head can move a little bit, it's hindered by the scarf, arms can turn, and 360s in the biceps, arms bend, legs and the leg articulations the same as on other Tom Bakers. Well, it's the detail on this figure that's really, really good. Now, the first thing we have, compared to other releases, is we have a head sculpt, which is a solemn head that now has a hat on, which is something when the 11 Doctor set was released we hadn't seen before. This figure being, of course, from the 11 Doctor set and re-released again in the Seeds of Doom set. So the head sculpt's very, very nice. You can have problems with the eyes, as they can be a little bit looking to the side or just all over the place. But this one I think I was quite lucky with. The hat is the green hat that Tom has later in his tenure. This hat was around from season 13, and I think he even had it in season 15. Because it gets shot in Power of Krull. And the only thing I will say about this that isn't quite right is this scarf is the standard season 12 scarf that you see on most Tom Baker figures. Now, the scarf should really be the Pyramids of Mars scarf. Now, I do have another one of these figures which actually did come with the Pyramids of Mars scarf, oddly. But this one came with the standard scarf. But it's alright, because it does mean that we get both sides are painted, and it does look quite nice as well. But it's the coat on this figure which is the most significant feature. It's not the same coat as the Pyramids of Mars coat. I'll just put the Pyramids of Mars one in for a comparison. It's the light grey blue speckly coat he wears in Seeds of Doom and in the Android Invasion, and it's a very, very nice sculpt. It's got a lot of texture to it, kind of like the Matt Smith tweed jackets that they do for the new series, and that's been painted in a light blue colour. It's a bit too light compared to the actual coat. It should actually be a bit duller than that, but that's because the original coat has a little bit of a speckly effect on it, which isn't on the figure, but I don't mind that. It looks quite nice, and it would have been difficult to do anyway. He's got new arms, showing the black cuffs of his coat and the elbow pads as well. He's got all the buckle detail on the back and the two sets of pockets. He has front pockets and then the back pockets that Tom Baker would stick his green hat in, which is very, very nice. Attention to detail. And underneath the scarf you have the 3 buttons and buttonholes, which are all sculpted on and painted in the black as they were in the season. And the only major difference to his legs are that now Tom has his spats as opposed to the brown shoes that he had on the Pyramids of Mars Tom. And these have been painted with the orange and white, and they've got the shoelaces sculpted on as well, and they're very, very nice. He does come with an accessory, this Tom Baker. He comes with the sonic screwdriver, pretty standard. However, the only difference between this and other sonic screwdrivers released is that this one actually has a bit of silver at the end rather than simply being red. And the other side, it's black, because that's the magnets that he attaches to the end. So that's a nice little tweak to the sonic screwdriver. It does make it a little bit different to the others. Whether that's correct or not for this time, I'm not sure. And I'll just quickly show you the head sculpt, as you can actually just pull the head off. It's very stiff and very difficult to do. Oh, there we go. I've knocked the camera again. Let me just put that right. So you can take the hat off, remove the scarf, and then if we just take this Tom Baker, the Pyramids of Mars Tom Baker, which has currently got the standard head sculpt. And you can just plonk the head on like that. And he looks pretty good like that with the solemn head. And you can see he's got the same chest piece. He's got the Pyramids of Mars red cravat and the fang tooth, wherever it's called, waistcoat, painted very, very nicely. The red is now more orange on this cravat than it was on the previous release, so that looks very, very good. And his collar is popping up as it should be in the story. And you can display him like this, or with his scarf on. And if you so wish, you can just I'll just quickly pull this off and demonstrate how this figure should look if it has the correct scarf. You can just plonk on the Pyramids of Mars scarf like that, stick the head on. I personally prefer displaying him without the hat, and there you go, you have a screen accurate, almost, 4th Doctor from the Seeds of Doom, which is very, very nice. So this variant again is from the 11th Doctor set, or the Seeds of Doom set, which you get a crinoid with and a few extra accessories. And there's a very, very welcome addition to the Tom Baker line, as there are countless variants of Tom Baker you can release, so the more Tom Bakers we get, the better. So, I've just noticed actually, the sculpt of the coat isn't a new sculpt, it's a repaint. It's slightly modified, it's tweaked. The arms are new, actually, I've just noticed looking at the other Tom. So, this Tom Baker is a very, very welcome addition to the line of figures. So now let's move on to the next Doctor in the line, which is the 5th Doctor, Peter Davison. I'm not gonna let you stop me now! The 5th Doctor, 1982 to 1984. His youthful appearance belied his wisdom and experience, but this Doctor still found it frustrating that so many people questioned his judgment, especially his companions. While on an alien planet, he and his companion Peri contracted spectrox toxemia, and the Doctor gave Peri the only cure, necessitating another regeneration. Now, there's not really much I can say about this 5th Doctor. It's basically the same standard body seen on a season 19 and 20 Peter Davison figure, and indeed the same head sculpt to an extent. The only major difference with this figure is that the head has had the top chopped off, and it's been given his Panama hat, as you can see, which is a very, very nice little variant. The hat has just been sculpted on. It's very plain. It's got a bit of a yellowy wash over it, which has slightly discoloured it, but to make it look very, very nice. And it's got the red hat band on that the hat had. However, the original hat band has a speckled kind of pattern on it, which they haven't been able to put on this figure, but that would be very, very difficult. However, I would have thought they could have simply got a couple of white dots and maybe put that around the top of the hat, on the hat band. That would have been nice. And there's just a little section here, which is meant to sort of be the knot or the tie bit there, which has been sculpted on just to highlight it, which is very, very nice. The only problem with mine is the paint application has been slightly off, as it doesn't cover the just the bottom bit of my hat band, but I'm not too bothered. When you stand him up like that, you can't really tell at all, and you can't really see on camera. But other than that, it's the same Peter Davison. It's got the same trousers, same articulation, same trim inside the shirt, the question marks, the button, and the stick of celery, which is good because original releases didn't have the stick of celery. And this one comes with a sonic screwdriver, which he's just dropped. It's different to the Tom Baker one. It's got the gold ring around it, and the ends are both black. I always find it odd when they release a Peter Davison with the sonic screwdriver, as he only had it until the Visitation, when it got destroyed by a pteroleptal. So they don't necessarily have to release him with the sonic, but it's nice to have an accessory. But the only odd thing is, because of what set this figure comes from, it's kind of strange that they have released him with a sonic screwdriver. This Peter Davison is not available from the 11 Doctor set. In the 11 Doctor set you got a standard Peter Davison with sonic screwdriver, but it was the first time it had a stick of celery, if you didn't have the super rare Wave 1 version. This version actually comes from the Planet of Fire set, which features this Doctor, the Master, or Chameleon Master, and the Master's... No, it didn't come with the Master's TARDIS. It just features the Fifth Doctor and the Master. So why would they package a season 19 and 20 Peter Davison wearing the hat with a figure from his last season, season 21? I don't know. Not really much else to say. The only other variant you can get of this, which has been released now, is the season 21 version with a different jumper and different trousers and cut of the shirt, trim of the shirt, and they've given him the hat again and changed the paint apps to the hatband and the trim of his coat. So other than that, not much to say, but still a very, very nice variant. You can get this from the Planet of Fire set, or if you want the later version, just get a Dr. Dalek 2-pack from Resurrection of the Daleks. And so the last figure to look at in this little line of Doctors is the 6th Doctor, Colin Baker.
All this cloak and dagger business, you're clearly up to no good.
The 6th Doctor, 1984 to 1986. Loud, boastful and colourful, this extravagant Doctor hid his vulnerable and caring nature behind a boastful mask of alien disinterest. After once again being put on trial by the Time Lords, the Doctor's TARDIS was shot out of the skies by his old enemy the Rani, and the subsequent crash triggered a regeneration. Now, obviously, we've seen this variant of Colin Baker before. This is the standard Colin Baker, and we've seen the Terror of the Vervoids Colin Baker, which is basically the same, just a tweak to the waistcoat and cravat. So, what can I possibly talk about with this figure? Now, there's a reason this figure is here, and that's because it's going to have to be the basis for the articulation, and this bit of the review is going to be a little bit unconventional. But this isn't the variant we're looking at, don't worry. The variant of Colin we are actually looking at is from the Big Finish story, Real Time. Hang on, let me just move the camera back. And it's the blue variant from Real Time, as you can see. Now, mine isn't open because this figure is very, very rare. It's one of the few releases from the expanded universe, the other being the 8th Doctor from the Children of the Revolution set. And this is a San Diego Comic Con exclusive, and I just can't stand to open it unless I get another one. But this is an excellent variant. I quite like this, and I always thought, why couldn't he have had a blue coat in the show? Apparently it had something to do with interfering with the effects. But as you can see, the art card is from the online webisode of Real Time, and as you can see, it's the blue coat there. Well, what's nice about this Colin is it's got various different shades of blue. It's basically the same body. It will have all the same articulation as this Colin. The cravat is completely plain blue. It's a baby blue. His coat is another shade of blue, slightly darker. He has the gold Siamese cat badge on. And the gold chain as well. The cuffs of his drop the other Colin. The cuffs of his coat and the collar are in a darker blue, and you probably won't be able to see this very well. On his shoes are also blue as well, with slightly darker ankle armour. The trousers are also completely blue, no stripes on these, and his shirt is also completely plain. It's plain white, there's no question marks, and at least you can actually see the shirt on this version. They've actually painted in the sides and just in between the cravat, which is something that really should have been done with the original release of Colin as well. So this is a very, very nice variant. I try and show you the back, but that's just plain blue, so you can probably use the imagination, or just look on the internet at some pictures of the figure. There are plenty on there. This figure comes packaged with his sonic lance, which is a nice little accessory. The initial 6th Doctor came with that, if you managed to get the Wave 1 6th Doctor. And that's basically it for this figure. It's very nice. The face sculpt is very, very nice. I find his lips are a bit red, if I just bring that in a bit. Yeah, his lips are a bit red compared to the other figures, but I don't mind. The hair still looks very nice, and the paint apps are very, very good. They're very, very crisp. Paint seems a little bit thick compared to this Colin, however this Colin was released later, but it's a very, very nice variant. So if you want a bit more background information of this figure, I'll just read the description of the story in Real Time. On a desert planet Kronos in the 33rd century, 2 scientific survey teams have vanished inexplicably and without warning. but with just one clue supplied, a single screamed word: Cybermen. The survey team seemed to have simply vanished into a pyramid on the planet. The university they worked for has called in Earth security forces, who dispatch a third team, a mix of military and scientific might, along with 3 strangers, a young human expert in Cybermen and a mysterious traveller in time and space, the Doctor, along with his companion, Dr. Evelyn Smythe. But can they solve the riddle of the vanished survey teams before the Cybermen harness Kronos' unique temporal powers and rewrite the history of the galaxy? So, basically, this is a very, very nice little treat, this one, because it's a Big Finish variant, which is obviously relevant to this review because it's based on Light at the End, and also because it's a figure from the expanded universe which you don't really expect to see. And from Colin Baker, there's not many variants of costume you can do now, apart from a standard with the red cravat and the different waistcoat. And the Regeneration version, obviously, which I don't own, otherwise that would have been for this review. So, having a Big Finish figure is a very nice welcome addition, and hopefully stuff like this will keep coming up in the future, more variants from the expanded universe. I mean, we've had the Children of the Revolution 8th Doctor, which I don't have yet, and this figure as well, which is good. Maybe we could see, we could possibly see comic book versions of other Doctors. I mean, there's plenty to go by. Could we see Big Finish companions or comic book companions? Who knows what the future may bring. But anyway, that's the 6th Doctor. Very, very nice figure. And that wraps up part 2 of this review. So stay tuned for the final part of The Light at the End, which is going to focus on 3 more figures and something else which has been in the whole review, which you can probably see right now. And the figures we'll be looking at are the 7th Doctor, my favourite, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor figure from the TV movie, and the Master, as played by Geoffrey Beevers from the Keeper of Traken set. So, thank you for watching part 2. I'll see you in part 3 as The Light at the End concludes.